Joining us is data analyst and local government expert Paul Berkowitz. Paul, good morning.
Good morning.
Are we likely to see, I mean, what we're seeing in these by-elections, is this a sign that the ANC will still be successful, and by what margin next year? Because we had the poll recently saying, yes, the numbers are dropping, but we are likely to still see the ANC lead those polls next year. And are we getting that from these by-elections? Is that what we're seeing?
So short answer is no.
No.
In my humble and correct opinion, there's a good reason. There's a number of reasons why I don't think by-elections are reflective of the general mood of the country, and why they're, at best, they've got limited predictive powers for what you can expect in a general election. And we can go through the reasons quickly. The first is that these by-elections happen sporadically. They happen one or two municipalities at a time. There's an issue of self-selection. And what I mean by that is that in a general election, people vote across the country. But for a by-election, a by-election is not normally called for the same reasons as a general election. And you'll see, especially in these Western Cape by-elections, they're in the West Coast district on the west side, on the border of the Northern Cape. And that's traditionally been a very contested area over the last few election cycles between the ANC and the DA. So what you often get is some councillors crossing the floor or standing for opposing parties, and that's not indicative of a general trend. Other reasons are that the voter turnout for by-elections is normally quite low. There's fewer resources allocated by the various parties, and if you look at the numbers, we've got something like 4,500 wards across the country, and we probably, in any election cycle, we're talking about 100 or 200 wards being contested, which is I don't know, 5%.
And like you say, most of them happen under, I don't know what to say in terms of the circumstances under which, well, unusual. And we've had so much controversy over whether it's local government elections, whether it's by-elections, when it comes to dealing with wards and ward councillors. There's widespread corruption, if we have to say that, and especially keeping an eye on these little elections and who has what to gain from just leading a certain ward, or whoever gets elected in these.
Yes, and we've seen the disestablishment and the dissolution of municipal councils. So obviously, you have to hold by-elections. When it's we have a tragic and unfortunate circumstance that a ward councillor dies in office, obviously you have to have a by-election. And because of our electoral system, the PR system, often what you'll see in a general election, you'll see a whole bunch of parties contest that you don't normally see. We have a former SABC executive who's now started a new party. But because of the way the PR system works, if you get 1% in a ward and 1% or 2% here and there, you can cobble that together and get a PR seat or something like that. So again, the normal suspects, well, I shouldn't call them that, but the usual parties contesting, that whole makeup changes. It's normally the bigger parties or parties with a regional footprint. And again, it's not representative of the bigger picture.
But would the ANC be able to say, we've taken over, we've managed to take this from the IFP, we've managed to take, can they leverage off this?
I think so. I think there's some good momentum. I think internally within the party it helps to boost morale. The ANC has secured at least one municipality after Wednesday's by-elections, probably two, depending on how some of the other kingmakers decide to form coalitions. That's big. 2 municipalities in one day is nothing to sneeze at. In KZN, the trend has normally been the other way around, that the IFP has been winning wards off the NFP and the ANC, so this is good for the party.
And I suppose that's why this is so significant, is that they've taken from the IFP, they've taken from the DA in what has been traditionally
You couldn't think of a better set of by-election results, really, if you wanted to plan it beforehand. So it's been a great week for the ANC. And the poll you referred to, Rebecca, the IRR, the Institute of Race Relations, released, I think it was at least their second, maybe more, of regular election polls. And they saw that the ANC support had gone up, I think, by 2 or 4 percentage points. So these are all good signs for the party.
And it also gives them a bit of a hold in these areas in terms of campaigning for next year. I mean, every vote counts, as we say. So you would imagine that undoubtedly in these areas, in these municipalities, their influence, they can now infiltrate, if I'm going to use that word. I don't want to sound
all sorts of
like it's an attack. Language. No, yes, all sorts of suggestive language. So it does all go well for them in terms of their reach now as well.
It's a good set of results. It's a good week. It's a fillip, it's a boost to the momentum. Whether we can read too much in for 2019, I think there's a lot bigger things in play.
But then you have the president saying on radio last night that Bathabile Dlamini is doing a sterling job.
Well, again, we're talking.
I have to wonder.
Well, there's internal and external pressures. Bathabile Dlamini is still the leader of the ANC Women's League. It's an important constituency within the Tripartite Alliance and the party.
But is she not hurting him more by being there? That's the question most people ask. Is yes, it's all good and well, he needs Bathabile Dlamini. But is it not costing him more to have her in that position, to keep her?
It's a good question. As the cliche goes, all politics are local.
Yeah.
So you have to start from the centre and work outwards. And Mr. Dlamini is a very important actor, very close to the circle, to his circle. So I think he needs to take care of the internal politics. He's a lot stronger than he was, say, at the beginning of the year at Nasrec, especially if you look at what happened with Tom Moyane and former President Zuma in the courts this week. But he still has to, his hold within the party and the alliance is still not that certain that he can afford to alienate people like her.
But I just have to wonder, as the general public, Paul, if you were an ordinary South African sitting out there listening to that interview last night or listening this morning also, I mean, are you going to, are comments like that likely to hurt the ANC next year? Or do you think it's just water off a duck's back?
I would think they would. At the margin, as us economists like to say, that the ordinary voter might think, well, how can you say you are cleaning up the party and presenting a new dawn if you're keeping people who've been implicated in all sorts of malfeasance and corruption? But it's a balancing act at this stage.
And apart from that, praising them on top of that is not going to... Okay, so let's see. By-elections, are they a reflection? Paul says we'll have to wait and see next year. But so far, the ANC having a good week. A good week. I don't know what... I don't know if the president's comments are going to hurt them and end it on a bad note. Thanks very much for your time, Paul.